a new Pixio monitor just showed up almost out of nowhere, and I was like, what's this? Oh, cool. 1 millisecond response time, 144 hertz. Okay, great. That's a gaming monitor, 24 inches. Set it on the desk, and I just assumed that it was a TN panel because 1 millisecond response time is usually a TN panel. It's got Freesync and a bunch of other features, so I just started playing it, and I noticed that over on the sides, 178 degrees. I'm like, what manner of demonry is this that it is 1 millisecond? Must be a TN panel. I kept, I didn't look at everything. I just opened it up, threw it on the desk. And then I was like, well, the color quality. And then I started changing through a few of the different color modes that come with it, and looks like gaming mode. And then I went to standard mode. There's an internet browsing mode. I went to standard mode, and everything was really bright and vivid and clean. And I was like, wait a minute. And I went over and looked at the box. This is an IPS panel with a 1 millisecond response time. I've never seen a monitor that has a 1 millisecond response time, 144 hertz, that is also an IPS panel. I thought maybe it was an AHVA or something, or TN, but no. So let's go through some of the specs on this. Actually, it's 23.8 inches. This one also features FreeSync, and it's a pretty good implementation. 48 hertz all the way up to 144 hertz is all going to fall within the FreeSync range, and FreeSync is going to make sure that you don't have any screen tearing or anything. So of course, FreeSync works on all the AMD graphics cards, but I did test it out with the, this is the RTX 2080 Ti Strix Edition from Asus, and FreeSync worked just fine with this. Now, for a lot of you guys out there, if you're playing competitive gaming, you're probably going to want to keep FreeSync off just to make sure that there's no input latency whatsoever. You've already got no latency and pretty much no latency in your monitor. You've got a really fast refresh rate. You don't want any latency introduced anywhere, so I think a lot of people are going to turn it off. And if your game is running somewhere between, 40 and 144 hertz, somewhere in that range, if you got that's your FPS, you probably won't notice much, even with FreeSync off. You're probably not going to notice much screen tearing, because as long as you're under the maximum refresh rate of the monitor, it's going to look pretty good, unless your eyes are as good as audiophiles say that their ears are. I'm on to you, audiophiles. I know what's up. I took some time to sit down and play some games on this, and I like to hop in there and play some FPS games. Now, what you're seeing on the screen is not going to be indicative of what's going on here. I shoot my videos at 24p, and that is nowhere near the frame rate that you need to be able to capture what's going on with this monitor. I don't have a camera here in the studio that will go at the full 144 frames per second, so I can show you how smooth it all looks, but just let me tell you that it is extremely smooth. It's a very nice experience, and having IPS kind of makes me scratch my head. It's a 24-inch monitor, right? So it's not like huge, and 1080p I feel like is a very fair resolution for 24 inches, but I did see the pixels a little bit. And if you're sitting close, and you guys can see here in the camera, you will notice that there are some pixels. The pixels are a little bigger than, if this was 4K or even 1440p. So I usually like 1440p at 24 to 27 inches, and then 4K at 32 and 40 inches. But 1080p is probably the best for gaming, especially with a refresh rate of 144 hertz, because a lot of hardware is going to be able to drive your games well into the 60 to 100 FPS range, and that's going to be great for this monitor. So think about that. Also think about budget and the fact that on this monitor, there's not a lot of nonsense. I mean, you've got a small bezel around the edges, not a lot of goofy gamer aesthetic going on here, and the stand is just a stand. It's basically just a damn metal stick that they pop on there with a couple of feet. It's clean. It does the job. You also have a 75 millimeter Visa mount on the back, but really it's just a very basic stand. You can tilt it a little bit, so you do have a little bit of motion where you can adjust it, but it's not that high of a stand. So if you want to be sitting this on your desk and you want it to be at eye level, you're probably gonna have to put a few books behind this or mount it on a Visa, a Visa mountable whatever monitor stand, and then raise it up a little bit, because in my opinion, sitting in front of a desk, I would like this to be a little bit higher so that it's straight on eye level. But that's obviously a corner they cut, was just having a basic stand with no bells and whistles. All right, when you look at the back, you'll also notice that there's not much going on there. Just simple, only a couple of things. You have some speakers on the back, so there's built-in speakers. They don't sound amazing or anything like that. They're built-in speakers on a monitor. What do you want? They get the job done if you don't have anything else and you just want to watch a stupid YouTube video of a cat popping balloons and freaking out. That's what they'll do. They'll be okay for that. Maybe better off on your phone. I don't know. Above and beyond that, we have a DisplayPort 1.2 that'll support the full 144 hertz, and then you have HDMI that will only support 120 hertz. So If you plug up HDMI, you're like, hey, why am I not getting the 144 hertz? We'll plug up your DisplayPort and be happy. There's also an audio output on the back, so you can plug up your headphones. It's not a combo or anything like that, just headphone output. And then you have your regular DC input. Now this is a really thin monitor. Just a small housing on the back to fit the board and the electronics and stuff. But it's so thin that the power supply is not built in, so you can't just plug up a 3-prong cable like you can with some. I've got sort of a thing where I always lose these stupid adapters. But if you're just getting this and hooking it up and not moving it around 20 times like I do, I'm like, oh, I'll take the monitor over here. I got to test it out over here. I always lose these stupid adapters. But if you're someone who doesn't care about having an adapter for a monitor, then you'll be totally fine here. And for most of you, that's not a big deal. But for me, I like to complain. I'm an American, damn it. I'm allowed to complain. All right, above and beyond that, let's talk about some of the technologies in the monitor. You guys can see here on the OSD, we have, just your basic adjustments and whatnot. There's a flicker-free technology, which is great. You guys can turn down the blue light if you don't want it to mess with your circadian rhythms and you want to get, cozier at nighttime, which is fine. The whole stuff about it, making you go blind and all that stuff, blue light's not going to make you go blind. It just can mess with your circadian rhythms. Your circadian rhythms. As far as consoles go, it will support consoles at up to 120 hertz through the HDMI. So that's cool if your console can do that. I guess some of them can these days with certain games. And last we have the black equalizer that you can turn on and off. And a lot of you guys are going to turn this on in games and cheat. Because what it does is it helps make the contrasty areas a little bit brighter. So if it's like a super black area, it can lighten that up a little bit so you can see if there's somebody hiding over there behind that desk or behind that tree or whatever in the game. So it lets you see just a little bit more. And you guys can turn it on and off and see if you think it looks better or looks worse, but it can give you a bit of an advantage when it comes to being able to pick something out in a really shadowy, dark environment. So overall, I've had a hard time finding complaints with most of these Pixio monitors because they're no nonsense, and I like that. They don't have a million extra features that they're forcing you to pay for, like extra hundreds of dollars. The price range on this is great for a 144 hertz monitor, and the fact that it's an IPS as well really surprised me. That was the biggest surprise of the week for me, was like, what the hell? Why does this look so vibrant? I mean, it's not full-on HDR. You're not paying for full-on HDR, and a lot of you guys don't care about that, but that's going to be completely up to you. I feel like we need more support for HDR before it can be a thing, but, in this price range, it's going to be hard to do better when it comes to just a pure gaming monitor for 1080p, unless you want something that hides the pixels a little better with a bit more density, but you'll need a better graphics card. So that's what you guys have to think about. While you guys are over on Pixio's website, just look around, because their monitors, you get a lot for what you spend. And they didn't pay me to say any of that stuff. I've just noticed over the years of the last few years, they keep releasing monitor after monitor without any of the nonsense you don't really need, and just packing it with all the features that matter to gamers, and then keeping the price relatively low and not going all crazy with plastic bezels and ridiculous gamer aesthetic. It's just clean and minimal, does the job. So hats off to the guys over at Pixio. I'm going to have to scoot back a little bit to make sure I don't see the pixels on this monitor, but overall, it looks really good and it performs really well. So there you go, Pixio PX247. Check it out. The link in the top of the description will show you whatever the latest price is. I don't like to say whatever price it is because it may go up and down, but the link right there, if you guys click on that, it'll take you over to Amazon and you can see what the current prices are. Also, head over to epicpants.com, grab yourself a t-shirt, maybe a mouse pad, who knows? Got all kinds of cool stuff over there. We'll see you guys in the comments.